this was completely in the spirit of what his mother did. It looked beautiful. It sounded perfect. The carols were pretty. The views of attendant members of the royal family, like satellites around the son of King Charles, were well done. It made approving noises of not simply Christianity, the star in the floor of the church at Bethlehem where Christ is supposed to have been born, and King Charles, then he was Prince Charles, having been there, and then neatly segueing to the mosque, to the temple, to the synagogue. All of that was beautifully, beautifully done, and it was mind-numbingly not dull.
Yes, I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of people might have said that they'd watched it, enjoyed it, but left it not feeling impacted by it. Not like some of the previous years that we remember. The performance seems like a harsh word to use, but the performance of the late Queen always hit it note perfect.
Sometimes it did. We remember the ones, of course, at moments of crisis. I mean, that's like the famous one with COVID and so on. Those are the ones that we remember. I mean, can I now do what I think is my real opinion? I found it uncomfortably like a Marks and Spencer's or John Lewis ad. You felt this is not just guff, this is royal guff. You were talking brilliantly now, dare I say, about the Prime Minister's performance. Why do we need to see him with a mop? And there's a terrible danger that the monarchy is just going to flow down the general stream of unthinking, unreflecting, beautifully produced PR. Now, that's what it starts to look like. I think there's also something else that's very dangerous about that speech, which quite a lot of people have picked up on, but it's worth thinking about a bit more, because in one sense, it's completely part of the tradition. When Prince Charles King Charles drifts neatly from religion to service to a notion of the public services to the NHS and the emergency services, queue strikers. In one sense, it's completely traditional. In another sense, it's a very clumsy taking of sides. And we are in a different world from what we used to be. The public services, whatever they are, no longer enjoy an unchallenged position. For example, don't we, Steve? If you cast your mind back to COVID, one of the great challenges was, were we going to have food supplies? Now, we need food just as much as the NHS. In fact, it's only because we've got food that the NHS isn't even more overwhelmed than it is now. But the people who supply food, they are called public service workers. People don't go out and bang pans for them. They don't demand 15% pay increases. But you know what? They do the job a damn sight better, and with very much less fuss. In other words, we're at a point now, it seems to me, of inflection, where things are changing. And there's a terrible risk that the monarchy is going to find itself either floating or on the wrong side of the changes. If you cast your mind back to the beginning, we're talking now about the anniversaries, right? This is the 70th Christmas broadcast, going back to 52, the anniversary of his mother, when she did her first. It's actually the 90th, when George V did his first in 1932. Now, that was a great age. That's an age of the threat of radical socialism, the rise of the Labour Party and whatever. And the monarchy played and democracy, all of those things that were totally alien to monarchy. And the monarchy, the King George V in particular, he plays an absolute blinder on it. The whole way of the reinvention of the monarchy as a national English monarchy rather than German royal house in 1917, the invention of, again, rewards for public service, the Order of the British Empire in 1917, with its first inauguration ceremony, not in the pomp and circumstance of Buckingham Palace, but actually in Ibrox Park Football Stadium in Glasgow. It got it absolutely right. It incorporated it without claiming to share its values.
But David, if I could just ask a question, though.
Sorry.
So In the first part, you say that we're at risk of it becoming overproduced PR, the royal family becoming overproduced PR. Then later in the paragraph, we hear the worry is that they're too politicised in comments that could be linked to taking a side on issues. It feels like there's not a lot of overlap between those two situations. Either you're so produced that you couldn't possibly be saying something that would be upsetting, or you're saying upsetting so you should have been produced more.
No, I'm saying that I don't think, and so you're misunderstanding, dare I say. I was talking about the production values, the glitz, the gloss, the perfection of the performance, of the setting, of the ecological Christmas tree, of the perfectly in tune but not too perfect Christmas carols, all that stuff. I'm not talking about the content. The content, I felt, was not thought, whereas almost too much attention had been devoted. You realised a week had been spent thinking about that blue suit, the tie and the pocket handkerchief. At least a week had been spent on that. I reckon about 5 minutes had been spent thinking about the text. The text was just pulled out of an old cupboard with nobody thinking about it. They're going to have to start thinking. He is going to have to start thinking. At the beginning of his reign, the accession speech, the accession council was seriously good. This was off-the-shelf stuff. Charles, do better. He only got a marginal second degree, remember. I'm speaking as an old Don. Come on, Charles, pull your finger out, do better, think harder, we'll take you more seriously.